keep talking about AI like it's just the next stage of innovation, a new tool, a new productivity layer, something that's just obviously shaping the future. But after listening to investigative journalist Karen Howe, who spent years covering and embedding with OpenAI, that framing starts to feel incomplete. Because one of the things she argues, especially in her new book Empire of AI, is that what we're looking at right now doesn't really resemble a stable industry. It looks more like a massive speculative bailout. Right now, companies are pouring extraordinary amounts of capital into AI infrastructure, data centers, specialized chips, model training, at a scale that far outpaces the revenue coming in. Only a low single-digit percentage of users are actually paying for these systems, even for tools like ChatGPT, or for some people, Bay. And even with subscriptions, enterprise deals, and partnerships like Microsoft's integration with OpenAI, the returns still don't clearly justify the level of investment. So a lot of this growth is sustained by capital, by expectation, and by investors who are positioned to benefit if this works, while taking on relatively little of the long-term risk if it doesn't. Privatizing the gains, socializing the risks. And that matters, because it means this isn't just a market responding to need. It's a system being built in advance of demand, by actors with the resources to shape what that demand may eventually look like. At the same time, the ideas organizing this space are surprisingly unstable. Take something like AGI, artificial general intelligence. It gets invoked constantly to justify urgency, scale, and even risk. But there isn't a clear shared definition of what AGI even actually is. In some contexts, it means a universal assistant. In others, it's framed as a total economic transformation. Sometimes it's treated like a measurable threshold, other times like a kind of technological destiny. And Howe points out that even inside these companies, there hasn't always been clarity about what's being built, or what its long-term implications actually are. Which raises a deeper question. To what extent are these decisions being driven by clear scientific understanding? And to what extent by a shared, almost religious internal belief about where the world is heading? So you end up in a situation where massive resources are being mobilized all around a concept that remains flexible, depending who's talking. And that should probably give people pause, because these systems don't just run on code. They depend on vast amounts of data, energy, and human labor, much of which remains largely invisible. In some cases, workers in places like Kenya, where I grew up, employed through firms like Sama, were paid very low wages to review and filter toxic content used to train these systems. And on the infrastructure side, the scale of compute required means significant energy and water usage, often concentrated in specific regions where data centers are built. This is a deeply material system, across labor markets, environments, and regions that don't have much say in how the system is being built. And when you put all of that together, uncertain economics, shifting definitions, and massive underlying infrastructure, you're no longer just looking at a neutral technological process, you're looking at something else. And Howe's argument is to really understand what's happening here, you have to stop thinking about AI as just a product, and start thinking about it as a system of power that's still being built, one whose structure is being shaped long before most people have any real say in it. Follow for part 2.